Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. I'm excited to have Dr. Ben Garber with us for his second visit to the podcast. Welcome back.
Thanks, Krista. I'm excited to be here.
I got a little memo in my email that you were going to be speaking in Colorado, or at least virtually in Colorado, at an event where I am not able to attend. But I was able to convince Dr. Garber to come give us a little preview. It'll end up airing or what do you call it? It'll end up going through the podcast waves after your presentation, but I'm hoping that we can reach even more family law professionals and certainly parents and therapists, and lawyers and judges through the podcast ongoing. So welcome back. We're going to be talking about structure and how that can diminish anxiety. So I'm going to shoot it over to you, Dr. Garber. Give us a little intro.
Thanks, Krista. I think the verb you were looking for before is, or at least should be, podding. You're going to be podding this cast.
Podding. There you go. That's right. I'm like, what is the right verb to use here?
Sure. So, I am very excited and honored, privileged to be speaking to the family law professional community, the AFCC chapter in Colorado, just tomorrow in about 24 hours, a little bit more than that. The topic is structure and how it affects anxiety, which maybe is a vague title, and I certainly grant that it covers a lot of territory. Okay. So we're talking about the 4 different flavors. I like food. So the 4 different flavors of structure. The first is limits and associated consequences. The second is boundaries that define space. So you and I are in very different rooms in very different states. I don't know, 1,500 or so miles apart. I can look around me. I'm in a closed room now so that my conversation with you isn't overheard and I don't overhear what's going on outside the room. Maybe you're in a similar space. Walls, doors, windows are the physical manifestations of how we define space. And that has repercussions. For example, when mom and dad split up and one of them moves to a little apartment, the kids are going to come over. Let's give kids a space in each of their homes, even if it's only a drawer labeled Billy. And let's respect their need for space depending on their age and circumstance and needs. A door on the bathroom, a curtain on the shower, those sorts of things. And then boundaries that define space in the context of divorce and custody matters often enough concerns distinguishing parent A's home and environment from parent B's home and environment. Krista, I'll often refer to moms and dads, but anything we say could equally well pertain to moms, dads, and dads. So the question that comes up in my work often, and I'm sure you hear about all the time, is mom and dad once upon a time lived together and shared their space. Now they live apart. Does Billy or does Sally now have one family living in 2 different places or 2 families? How are the boundaries between them defined?
It's always interesting too when kids get those assignments in school and it's like, draw your family. And, kids are surprised, or sometimes parents are weirdly affirmed, like, oh, she drew me. I must be the most important, right? But I mean, it does cause kids a lot of stress
Yeah.
in schools when they're trying to draw a house and a dog and a mom or dad, or, it tells parents something. But yeah, the kids sometimes tell us a lot when they show you that.
So I will talk about Defuse Divorce, DEFUSE divorce.com. The URL is on the screen behind me in case you have video for this broadcast. Let me get there in just another paragraph or two. The idea generally, well, okay, I'll follow your lead more closely. Research in lots of fields that I never before even considered reading in. I'm a psychologist. There's no way I would ever have predicted that I enjoyed or would have reason to read research about dental procedures, for example, or public health interventions or nursing practices. But it turns out that really powerful research spanning more than 550 years in nursing medicine, dentistry, public health, genetic screening, psychotherapy, a whole bunch of other fields, shows one thing is clearly and repeatedly and predictably true. And it's one of those bang your palm against your forehead and say duh sorts of moments. It's so obvious. When consumers of a service, sometimes called patients or clients, the consumers of a service know in advance what to expect about that service, they are strongly, very much more likely to be satisfied by the service, even if they don't like it. And the service is much more likely to be more efficient, which means taking less time, costing less money, and more effective. For example, now this is what we talked about when we talked about diffuse divorce. That must have been 18 months ago, maybe it's a long time ago. In medical settings, a nursing protocol called ERAS. I'm not going to remember what the acronym stands for. Enhanced recovery after surgery demonstrates that patients who are about to undergo surgery, who spend maybe a half an hour previewing what's likely to happen during the surgery and upon recovery, talking it through with a nurse, watching a video about it, that sort of thing, very significantly reduces the length of hospitalization and their need for pain medication, which has huge trickle down positives. The less time you spend in a hospital, the less risk there is that you'll pick up a hospital-based infection. The less time you spend in the hospital, the less expense you're incurring. And the less time you spend in the hospital, the more time someone else who needs it can be there. The less you need pain medication, the less risk you are at for addiction and all of the terrible, horrible slide down that slippery slope costs to your own physical and mental health, your family's well-being, and society's well-being. All of that emanates from a half-hour advance orientation sitting with a nurse before your appendix is removed. That's shocking to me. There are similarly powerful examples in lots of other fields, but what they amount to, Krista, is providing structure to diminish anxiety so as to promote success. I say with huge respect, both to the parents whose lives are turned upside down and to the professionals who spend their workaday lives wading into such painful circumstances, that there is a better way to do this. And I'm not talking about some statistically complicated DSM-6, MMPI-ish kind of science. I'm talking about making sure that the people who are engaged in this process are not sucked into it as if on a conveyor belt without humanity, without dignity, and without orientation. Not just because it should be sufficient to do it for the sake of dignity, respect, humanity, humility. But in addition to that, our courts are terribly overcrowded, and our legal processes and the services that courts often order, like custody evaluation, like, hey, mom, go to therapy. Hey, dad, go to anger management. Hey, kid, get into quote unquote reunification therapy. I know that's a whole big topic right there. Get psych testing. There's a menu of things that go along with high conflict custody litigation commonly that litigants and their kids just get carried into like a conveyor belt, like swept away by the sea. And it should never be that way. It needs to be, now this is an important distinction. It needs to be a process including informed consent, which already exists. Informed consent being that 6-page, 4-point font, both sides of the page, legalese, psychobabble document that spells out all the things that could happen. Informed consent serves the purpose of communicating a consumer's rights and responsibilities. In medicine, informed consent has been shown to increase consumers' patients' anxiety.